Welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network, coming to you from the TeacherCast studios since 2011. Join us each week as we bring you the latest educational news, EdTech updates, and hottest interviews with today's most influential leaders in education. And now, for your host, Jeff Bradbury.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeacherCast Educational Network. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us today and making TeacherCast your home for professional development. This is the Jeff Bradbury Show, episode number 18. If you're a podcaster, a blogger, an author, a speaker, or anybody inspiring to make a great website and build your EDU brand, this is that podcast for you. I am so excited for everybody who is listening today. It is great to be back. We, of course, relaunched this podcast only 2 days ago with episode 17, talking about 3 ways to really use consistency to build our brand. And today I have an amazing guest with us today. Erica Terry is a mother, a podcaster, a speaker, an author, and soon she's going to be diving into the amazing world of online virtual conferences, something I'm excited to partner with her at. She's got a great conference that we're going to be talking all about. So you got to listen to the end of this podcast today to learn not only about the great things that she's doing, but how you can participate and be in it as well. Before we get into our interview, I want to know how you guys are doing. It's been a while since we last spoke to each other. How's your podcast? How's your blog? How's your website? What questions are on your mind? We've had a very interesting conversation this week in our Facebook group all about building our brands, being consistent, and I would love to have you guys be a part of our community. All you have to do is go over to buildyouredubbrand.com. Check everything out. We've got blogs, we got podcast episodes. You can subscribe to this very show, and we would love to have you guys continue to make TeacherCast your home for professional development. As far as Jeff Bradbury goes in this podcast and building my EDU brand, I am excited to announce that there are lots of great things happening this summer. We are going to be putting on not 1, not 2, but we're actually working on putting on at least 3 summer virtual conferences, all of them designed to help you guys build your EDU brand. I am looking for great people out there just like yourself who would be interested in working with me, teaming up on it, and of course, presenting it. If you're interested, please let me know. You can, of course, go back over to buildyouredubbrand.com. Let me know that you're out there. Share with me what's going on in your world. What are you passionate about? And let us know. Again, this is a show that drops every single Wednesday, and it is all about helping you guys build whatever you are passionate about. And one of the things that you guys know about me is that I am passionate about podcasting. I am passionate about getting on a microphone and sharing not only my story with you, but sharing other stories with you. In fact, it was this morning that we had 5 amazing tech coaches on live on our Ask the Tech Coach podcast that drops every single Monday. And we had 5 amazing tech coaches that were sharing exactly what they do every day. They're building their tech coach brands. They're sharing their passions with teachers and helping everybody get to that next level. And for me, I've been podcasting now for almost 10 years. Next week, we're going to talk about podcasting. How do you get into it? What do you need? And how podcasting can be used to build your EDU brand. And I'm going to tell you, next Friday, we've got another bonus show. I've got an awesome interview that I did with a good friend of mine named Matt Passy, who is an amazing podcast consultant, somebody who I turn to, and we're going to be sitting down to talk all about how that can be a part of your branding strategy. So a lot of stuff happening here on our Facebook group, on our podcast, and of course, next week we've got some great things happening about how to podcast, how you can start with another bonus episode. So stick around. Don't forget to subscribe to this and share with your friends if they're looking to build their EDU brands. This is that podcast for you. I am so excited about my guest today. Not too long ago, I received an email from one of my listeners, and she says, I am building a conference all about branding. I listen to your show. I follow what you're doing, and I would love to see if we can do something together. Would you be interested in partnering up and doing a session? And I jumped all over this and said, absolutely. We got on the phone, we talked, and that is when I was introduced to Erica Terry. She has an amazing podcast. She has a podcast out right now called Classroom to CEO, and you can find it over at classroomtoceo.com. And I'm just going to get out of your way right now, and I'm going to bring you my podcast interview with Miss Erica Terry. My guest today is an 18-year educator who is not only an amazing mother, amazing wife, amazing teacher, but she also is an edupreneur that is kicking it each and every single week. She's the host of an amazing podcast called Classroom to CEO. Want to bring on my good friend, Miss Erica Terry. Erica, how are you today? Welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you. I am so good. And you made me sound way better than I really am. So thank you for that wonderful intro.
You are doing some amazing things. You know, today on the show, we're talking all about serving others, right? And that's something that we talked about a few days ago on the Jeff Bradbury Show. And today we're going to be really deep diving in how to do that, because our brands are created to serve. Before we do that, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Erica Terry?
Oh, okay. Erica Terry is originally from Cleveland, Ohio, but has moved to Atlanta, Georgia, or a little bit south of Atlanta. I am married, as you said. I have a wonderful, beautiful 4-year-old daughter that I just love to death. I don't know how much of my story you know, but we struggled with infertility for 10 years. And so when we had her, like everything in my life changed. I really started to focus on legacy and just wanting to create something that would outlast me, something that, you know, maybe she can take on one day, which is how I made the shift from classroom to CEO, how I went from being in education. I still am, because I'm a coach and a consultant, but this is how I got into starting an online business several years ago. So yes, that's what brings me here today.
You know, our stories are very similar, and our stories are similar to other people. You know, I'm in the classroom, I'm busy, I'm crazy, I'm doing my thing, I'm making X, and then suddenly you turn around and there's a family. And you figure out, oh, if I want the best for my kids, I need to become a CEO. I need to build my EDU brand. I need to do something. Tell us a little bit about that moment. You obviously were sitting there one day and you're like, I think I can do this. And then the next thing you know, I'm going to do this. Tell us a little bit about how you decided to make that transition.
Oh, well, let me see. When I had my daughter, I was in administration. I had been working my way up that ladder, you know, putting in so many hours. I felt like I was just around the clock, always working. And when I had her, it was during that period where I was at home with her, and I just was like, there's no way that I can leave this precious baby and go back to being I was around the clock, cell phone. You know how it is.
I do.
Anytime something happens, like you're the call. And I just was like, I can't go back to that. And so, of course, I finished out that year, and then I just walked away from it and ended up moving at that time from the district level administrator to actually working for the state as a consultant. And so that's how I kind of started making the transition, because it wasn't even about the money for me. I mean, I took a huge cut actually, but it was more about my time and wanting to be able to spend time with her. And then, I mean, I spend a lot of time working on my business. Anyone with the Edu brand knows that you pour a lot of time and sweat into it. But it's so worth it because it gives you that freedom and flexibility to create your own schedule, to record after the kids go to sleep, or, you know, work on stuff in the mornings before they wake up. So you just have that freedom that you don't have when you're, working in the classroom.
And at some point in time, you said, you know, doing this brand thing isn't enough. I'm going to open up a podcast. Tell us about that.
All right. So doing this brand thing, it's so important for you to, I mean, you said we're serving, we're empowering, and you want to be able to get content out on a regular basis. And so for me, I tried the blog thing. I tried to, write blog posts every week, and it just wasn't my thing. Like, if I'm not really enjoying it and it feels more like a chore, then it just doesn't work for me. And so, I had talked to, actually, I was inspired by Trina from Teacherpreneur Raise Your Hand. She talked about how she loved podcasting, and I was listening to her podcast. And then I actually downloaded some of your freebies that you have on your site. And so I just went to different edupreneurs to try to figure it out. And then I started it. And I mean, I love podcasting. Like, I love it. So that is definitely my way of creating content on a regular basis and being able to empower people.
I'm curious, and this is a question I ask a lot from new podcasters. What has being a podcaster taught you about education and working with others?
Definitely the collaboration piece, which as an educator, collaborating with others is so important. And it's the same with podcasting, because you can only talk for so long by yourself. Like, eventually you have to bring on other experts, because you can't be an expert in everything. And so your audience has a variety of needs. And so you have to then start collaborating with other people in order to fill those needs. And that's the most important thing I've learned. I mean, I'm only on episode 12 so far, so I'm very new as a podcaster, but even in my 4 or 5 weeks, I've learned like the importance of collaboration and bringing that from, one of those skills that we learn as an educator that works so well in this space is definitely that ability to be able to collaborate with others.
And of course, the website for that podcast is classroomtoceopodcast.com. Check it out. We're going to talk a little bit later in the show here about how she put it together, what tools she's using. But really, we're going to talk today about 5 ways that we can use our brands to serve others. I mean, that is why we're doing this show here, to teach you how to build your EDU brand, teach you how to build a website, teach you how to get marketing, teach you how to do all these things. We are here to serve you, to help you build your EDU brands. We talk about that a lot on the show here. But Eric, talk to us a little bit about this. One of the things that I know you mentioned about serving is just that ability to help others solve their problems. Why is that important, and how are you helping others solve their problems?
Yeah, so that is so important, because a lot of the TPT sellers and teachpreneurs that I come in contact with, they are stuck in this rut of just creating resource after resource. And I mean, adding, like, just have this goal almost to create 100 resources, and all of a sudden everything's going to shift. Mm-hmm. And so I came to the realization that if you're just a 3rd grade teacher and you feel like you're creating resources for everything you teach in 3rd grade, it just doesn't work, because you have to have your EDU brand specifically tailored to solve a problem. And when you do, that shifts everything, because now you've moved away from that creating random resources to being very specific and really strategic about why you're creating the resource and what the resource is meant to do, what the outcome is that's going to help other teachers achieve success. And when you do that, it changes everything, because now they're coming to you because they know that your products are proven. And if you've helped them solve one problem, then when they have another and they see you have a product for it, it's like, oh, let me try that, because last time I was able to do such and such after I used her product. And so when you're really focused on helping others solve problems, like, that's a great way to serve. And that's what I am all about with Classroom to CEO. It's making that transition from being that overwhelmed, stressed out TPT seller to really creating a brand where you're focused on solving problems, and you're doing that by creating multiple streams of income.
We talk a lot about here on the show of finding your avatar, finding who that person is. And then the hardest part, right? Ask them what they want. And a lot of that comes from, maybe a survey, maybe physically having a conversation with them. If somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, Erica, I listened to your show," you can always ask, why? Like, what are you listening for it for? Looking at analytics on your website, if you notice that they're looking at a specific post, that's a good indicator that maybe you should start writing more on that topic or writing more deeper diving on those different topics here. Finding that way to satisfy the need. And as you just said, right, getting them to come back one more time to, maybe they're still at that 101 level. Maybe they're at the 201 level, trying to figure out where they are and where they need. Because every single day, someone's going to come to your website for the first time, and someone's going to come to your website, hopefully, for the second, or third, or fourth time.
Yes, that is so true. I couldn't agree more. And even if you are that person like that, maybe you're, kind of shy and you really are afraid to kind of ask people what they need, a good place to start is with your own teacher problems. Every single one of us has faced some type of issue. So find a teacher problem that you struggled with, that you were able to overcome yourself, and figure out like, okay, if I was able to do it, what can I create that would help someone else be able to do it too? And that's a great place to start.
And if you create content on something that you're passionate about, then you are the expert. You might not realize it, but you are the expert. The other thing that we're looking at here, and we're going to call this topic too, but really it's creating the content and the resources that empower others. Well, you tell me, what are we trying to empower others to do?
And it really depends on what your teacher problem is. You're empowering them to achieve success, and what that success looks like really depends on the teacher problem. So for me, with Classroom the CEO, my teacher problem is really trying to empower those edupreneurs that are struggling to earn income. And so I create resources like I have a passive payday boot camp that I do, which is a 5-day live boot camp that teaches them affiliate marketing. So it's a new income stream, and it allows them to start earning more money from their business. And then from there, of course, I'm going to grow with them. But you start at one place, let them get a quick win, they're not solving the whole problem, but just one little piece of it. And then you continue to create products that help them to get closer to whatever that definition of success is.
And you hit it right there. One of the things that we have offered and we still do, you can find the links on our show notes here, is a 90-day get your email marketing campaign taken care of. And I basically walk you through 3 months of how to set up an email, how to get a newsletter, all of those different things. Now, I could write a blog post that says you need to do this, but that's not going to help you. Right? You're creating a product, you're creating a system, you're creating something that, and this is, these are your words, achieving that success. So that way they can then take that little bit and then go out on their own, do it. And then if everything goes well, they're going to come back to you for more.
Yes. And I love that you start with email marketing, because people do not realize like email marketing is that golden nugget. Like it is so valuable and so important for edupreneurs to have that email list. Those are people that you're constantly empowering with your newsletters, with tips, strategies. So when you do get to that point where you have a new product, that's people that you've been talking to every week that you can share it with. So definitely check out that email marketing course. That's a great place to start.
Now, Erica, we said number one is making sure that we can help our users, our avatars, solve their problem. Number two is, of course, creating something where our avatars can feel successful. Erica, what is the third thing here that we need to be thinking about? We've already talked a little bit about this, but what is that third topic of how we're going to help serve others?
It is being very, it's creating opportunities to collaborate. And when I say that, I mean being very thoughtful about how you're going to create opportunities to collaborate with other people in your space. Like, it is so important to understand that we are not in competition with one another. Like, this education online world is very, we share, we collaborate, I could DM someone that I don't even really know. Like, I can't tell you how many people have helped me just if I send them a direct message or email like, hey, I listened to your podcast. Can you tell me how you start or what platform you use? Like, people answer your questions.
Yep.
And then just collaborating, being guests on each other's podcasts, conferences, everything. And so being very mindful and thoughtful about how can I create an opportunity to collaborate with other people in my space.
It's two things, right? It's the collaboration space, but it's also the community. I look up to people like, Sarah Thomas has built an amazing platform on EduMatch that, that is the community of communities out there. I'm so impressed with the work that she's done. And if you guys haven't had a chance to check out her episode, as she was on this particular podcast a few months ago, I think it was one of our February episodes, and she gave the story of how she started EduMatch and how it grew, and now she's doing publishing and all those things. Giving your users an opportunity to collaborate. Now, you, Erica, are doing some summer things, aren't you? You've got tell us a little bit about what you're doing this summer and how that's not only pulling people to you, but pulling people towards each other.
Yes. So one of the big things I have coming up at the end of August, I'm so happy to share, is Edupreneur Week. And so it's going to be a week-long conference. I am bringing on 20 of the top edupreneurs from all around the world, including the fabulous Mr. Jeffrey Bradbury, to present. And so definitely look out for that. We will be promoting starting at the end of July, edupreneurweek.com. And it's going to be a 5-day conference, especially for edupreneurs. So if you're listening, this is definitely the place you want to be.
And I'm going to be looking forward to promoting that in the newsletter. Like you said, everything here is collaborative. And, I love the fact that if you're looking for building your brand, building your network, building your stuff, there's a lot of great podcasts out there. We're starting this up again. You've got a good one. Our good friend, Dr. Will's got one. You had mentioned one I haven't heard yet. Who's your friend who's also doing edupreneur stuff?
Teacherpreneur, raise your hand. Trina, and I cannot pronounce her last name, but I can't pronounce it. I'm not even going to mess it up. But Teacherpreneur, raise your hand.
I will check that one out, and I'd love to get her on the show sometime to talk about all this great stuff.
Yes, yes.
And that also, that was a segue right there into our fourth one, right? Our fourth thing about building your brand through sharing is what?
This is a big one, guys, and it's a big one. It is be available rather than busy. As an edupreneur, you can get so caught up in trying to do all the things, all the social media, writing the blog posts, creating resources. You get so busy that you don't have any time to engage with your avatar, your tribe, your customers, I like to call them favorite teachers. You don't have time to talk to your people. And so you want to make sure that you are available. When someone emails you, respond. If someone sends you a message in your DM, reply. Make time for people, because if you're not making time for people, then all of those other things that you're doing, they really don't matter that much if someone is inspired by it and they reach out to you and never get a response.
I completely agree with this. And I love that number 3 and 4 kind of go together, right? 3 again was finding the opportunities to collaborate. Now this is big, right? Do you have a Voxer group, a Facebook group? Do you follow a Twitter hashtag? Do you find those ways? But then so many people out there just go on autopilot, or they find that app that auto tweets and look, guilty, right? People know my story, 6-year-old triplets. It's been crazy. But be available to them, put yourself out there, do live chats, meet people, respond to emails more than just a canned response. Help yourself build that platform that you're trying to build. How do you do that, Erica? I know you've got, an amazing, amazing baby. You've got an amazing, amazing family. And of course, you're doing a lot of stuff professionally. How do you find the time? And let's be honest here. Where do you find the time to not only create this stuff, but to, filter, foster, build your community?
Yes, well, so I have a confession to make. Please don't judge me, guys. But since we've been on quarantine, I tried for the first 2 weeks to keep my daughter's sleep schedule the same. But now I let her stay up late so that she'll sleep in late. And that gives me like several hours in the mornings to get stuff done. And so I try to schedule all of my meetings in the mornings. Anything I have to do where I'm interacting with people, I try to get it done before 11 o'clock. Before she wakes up. So, that's my truth. I let her stay up late.
That right there in a nutshell is what I'm doing wrong, right? Because we have a 7 o'clock bedtime. And that's why when I wake up at 6, my kids have already been awake for an hour and a half.
So yes, that's been my secret since, we've been home with no daycare. Before that, I would do stuff while she was at daycare.
Erica, I will stop the show right now and say you are absolutely amazing. Number 1, serving by helping everybody solve their problems. Number 2, creating content that's going to help everybody achieve what they're looking to do. Number 3, creating opportunities to collaborate. Number 4, being available rather than busy. And number 5, this is one that I struggle with, but, this is the most important one to me. Erica, what's the 5th thing that we can do when we're trying to build our brand by serving others?
The 5th one, it took me a while to get it, guys, but once I did, I promise you it made all the difference in the world. Focus on giving rather than receiving. When you have your heart set to empower others, when you give of yourself, you create resources. And I'll give you an example. When all of the Black Lives Matter, everything started happening, it really touched me and I wanted to do something. I wasn't sure of what to do. And so I collaborated with some other edupreneurs in the space, and we started a Facebook group just yesterday on Juneteenth called Black Lives Matter to Educators. And we've created like resource banks. We're having book studies, discussions all around topics like systemic racism, implicit bias, and how these issues impact our classrooms. And so the focus is on giving, and not worrying about like, how can you make money from what you're doing, or how can you create a resource that you're going to earn money from? Like, it's not about that. It's giving stuff away because we really want to make change, and we want people to have a safe space where they can have these conversations and be honest about what they know and what they don't know, or what they want to learn. And so definitely when you focus on giving, everything else comes. So just focus on giving, and you will look up one day and you're all of a sudden earning more money than you ever were when you were trying to earn money. So definitely.
I like watching the bar rescue type shows. I like watching the profit type shows, and every now and then you watch those shows and you find a bar owner who's struggling, and he's struggling because he has created a bar that he likes. Mm-hmm. He's basically created a shrine to himself. And if everything's all about him, I love seeing John Taffer rip into somebody going, it's not about you. It's about, what does your customer want? What do they need? What kind of food do they want? You have a bar in a college town. Why are you having high-end steaks? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right?
Right.
Know your clientele. And really, I look at this also and go, that's why from day one, TeacherCast is a place for teachers to help other teachers. I've always had that up on the top. This is a place where I'm going to bring somebody on the show to share their passions with other people. And if it affects somebody, great. If it helps somebody make a podcast, awesome. But so many of us do these shows with those attitudes, and I see the success happen. I see that's how you build a community. I'm going to go back to Sarah for a second. Everything that she does is to serve others and to make sure that the community of educators is doing what they need to, when they need to, and how they need to. And I think if we all try to build our brands that way, we're going to be successful, both personally, professionally, socially. And that I think is when we start to have more time for our families and for everything else. I mean, look, I'm sure just like you, family comes first.
Yes.
You got to build a business and you got to do both things at the same time. And that is hard.
Right. And I mean, I just think about like Sarah is the best example ever of how she empowers people, because even me, I mean, I am a part of the EduMatch family, and before anybody knew my name, like she was willing to give me a chance. And so that's the way, that you can empower and inspire people and just help them walk into their gifts and really, bring out the best in them. And so when you focus on those things, like everything else comes. So, just focus on serving and empowering and giving. And then, you never know what doors will open up for you when you have that mindset and when you have the heart to give.
Well, let's wrap up today, Erica, by asking you a question on that very topic. You just started your podcast. Congratulations. You said you're 12 or so episodes into it.
Yes.
Here's the hard one. Where do you see yourself in a year?
1 year from now. Okay, so we are in July. 1 year from now, I will have officially released, and I don't even know the title yet, but I will be a published author for sure with EduMatch. I will likely be either having a second book coming out sometime around this time next year, hacking co-teaching that I'm writing with the Times 10 family. And so definitely a published author. My goal one day is ultimately to be a New York Times bestselling author. And then definitely to continue having the podcast. It'll be almost time for Edupreneur Week Part 2, 2021. And so I'll be planning that conference for next year and just continuing to empower people with Classroom to CEO.
She's an educator. She's a podcaster. She is an inspiration to us all. And she is an amazing mother of a 4.5-year-old. Erica Terry, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was so great having you, and so great having you on the show.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
And if you have any questions for Erica or about how you guys can build your EDU brand, please reach out to us. You can find all the information on our website over at buildyouredubrand.com. That's right. We are back. We are doing our thing each and every Wednesday. You get an amazing episode from us here with Friday bonus episodes that we would love to have you guys be a guest on the show. Are you doing something great? Are you a podcaster, speaker, blogger, author? This is that podcast for you. Let your friends know that we are here, and we are here to serve you and help you build your EDU brand. So on behalf of Erica and everybody here in the TeacherCast Educational Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury, asking you to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions on your podcasts.
You've been listening to the TeacherCast Educational Network, hosted by Jeff Bradbury. Please reach out to the show with all of your questions on Twitter @TeacherCast or online at www.teachercast.net. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And please take a moment to write a review in the App Store.